At some point, we realized we were spending so much energy trying to maximize our retirement RV travel that we had to stop and ask ourselves, was it even bringing us any joy?
I think a lot of people picture RV retirement travel as finally reaching freedom.
Yeah, after decades of work and having routines and responsibilities, RV travel was going to be like this reward phase of life.
And we're talking about using your RV to travel as opposed to going on those weekend camping trips. Although we do that as well, the goal is to go out and see those bucket list places.
And parts of that dream are very real because we've had some incredible experiences because of this lifestyle so far. But I also think that over time, this extended RV travel starts to feel a lot different than we imagined that it would. And I think that's where RV travel slowly starts to shift. Good or bad, it starts to shift from feeling like a vacation to being an actual lifestyle, which was the goal. And at some point in this RV retirement, we all come to realize this.
I'm Jamie.
I'm Linda.
And this is Roaming with Rosie. I'm tired of the motorcycles, I'm sick of the exhaust.
Part of what I think we've been doing wrong maybe a little bit.
And yet we kept moving and moving and moving.
I could have told him, but he wouldn't listen.
And we got to go here, there, and this and that and that and this and that.
And it's just not as much fun as we thought it would be.
Like sardines walking down. And she said, you're not going to let me out, I'm just going to pull out, and if I hit one of you, I don't really care.
What's the president place?
The president place? It's called Mount Rushmore.
I think early on, retirement RV travel feels exciting, partly because you've planned this for so long, and emotionally, it's going to be the rest of your life on vacation practically. And all of that planning was really fun to do, and I think even all of the driving was something Jamie really looked forward to because he loves driving big things.
Yeah, I mean, ever since I was a little kid, I always saw the big truck drivers, and I thought they were the cowboys of present day. And I actually did that for a little bit, but yeah, I did really enjoy driving.
So our original dream didn't end, it just matured. Now we know what brings us joy from the experiences that we had, and we're hoping to share that with you so maybe you don't waste so much time going, why isn't this fun? And you'll be able to plan more space and more flexibility because you'll see what actually brings you satisfaction and what brought us that joy that we were looking for.
Right. So when you initially first start out, you're focused on the destination, adventures, but eventually the vacation just kind of ends and it becomes a normal way of life, especially when you're doing long-term travel for a couple of months or more. So it just turns into just a different kind of a lifestyle. I
mean, you're still fitting your real life in. You're still got to go get groceries. You're not going out to eat every single meal when you're traveling long term. So you've got to get that grocery shopping done. You still got to do your laundry. You still got to clean up your mess in your RV, especially if you have a small one. And of course, you're on a budget. So all of that has to be planned into the budget. And you still are making your appointments for your real life. In retirement, you have a lot of appointments going on, whether they're telehealth or whether they're in person. You're still organizing those during the months that you're traveling.
And I don't think people fully realize how different RV life will actually be once it becomes their actual day-to-day instead of being on vacation mode. The one thing that I do think people underestimate is how mentally demanding extended RV travel can actually be.
We've talked about this recently. The constant decision making, where are we going next? How far is the drive? Can we get reservations? You know, you're planning all of that out, and getting reservations starts to become really stressful these days. And will it be too crowded? Will that affect our visit? Do we want to even go at that time of year? What's a better time of year? So you're researching that too. And then, is it worth the cost of the fuel to go to this trip or this part of the trip?
The other things you want to think about is how long should we plan to be in one particular place, or is it too expensive?
We really do get a lot of stress from making all those decisions.
Yeah.
All the time, you know, and yet the research, you know, you're watching YouTube videos pretty much to get the most accurate visual research of a place you want to go. And deciding how much time to be there is what we're really going to talk about in this video, because that can make all the difference in making your life go back to having that joy and that calmness, I think, is that budgeting the time differently. I think there's a layer that people don't always talk about, and that's the pressure that you either put on yourself or society puts on you to make your retirement count. For me, I put this on myself because I worked with seniors my whole career, and I observed all the different approaches that they took to retirement and who was happy and who wasn't. And I kind of got mixed up in the goal of trying to do everything. I think that's what I set out trying to do.
I think a lot of people enter RV retirement travel with the mindset that, hey, I've worked hard my whole life and I deserve to go out and enjoy myself, which we do. But the other thing people think about is, okay, how many healthy years am I going to have left? I want to be able to do certain hikes. I want to go to the Bighorn Mountains and hike at 10,000 feet. Am I going to be able to do that at a particular age? So that's why when we decided, hey, you know, we're not going to wait. We want to do this now.
Which was good, but we also put that pressure on ourselves to maximize everything, to see everything, and to make that retirement count. I think that's the key, that you're entering retirement. I got to make my retirement count. And that's part of what I think we've been doing wrong, maybe a little bit, for us anyway.
Right, because you think, hey, I got, you know, I don't know how much time I have left. You know, I want to see all of these things, and I want to get all those things. I don't want to miss any one of them, and I want to make sure and see every stinking one of them. So I got to, you know, make sure that every moment counts.
But today, we're going to tell you why we're changing that.
Yeah, exactly. When we did our Pacific Northwest coast trip, it was a very fast-paced trip. We were doing 2 days here, then 2 days there, and we wanted to see this and see that and all that kind of stuff. And then we kept moving and moving and moving. And now this went on for basically 6 weeks, which made it, yes, we got to see a lot of really neat stuff, but it made it very stressful and not very relaxing.
Once we saw that that's what was happening, we were hitting the bucket list places. But once we got there and we were moving, we saw all these other interesting things that we might have liked to have slowed down and gotten to see, but our schedule was so tight that we didn't have room in it to be able to slow down that much to fit in things that weren't already pre-planned. Another thing that drove that was trying to find places to stay. So you can't just find reservations in the summer on the coast easily without planning ahead. So we really were planned ahead, and we really had all those reservations down, and that became part of what dictated everything, because with those private RV parks, a lot of times there is no wiggle room at all. You can't really adjust anything.
No, you're locked in.
You're locked in. And even with public parks, they were crowded and getting those spaces, and we were traveling with other people too, so trying to get 2 spaces near each other, that all had to be pre-planned. The problem was we just pre-planned a really tight schedule. Like, we traveled for 6 weeks, like Jamie said, and rarely did we even set out more than a folding chair here and there to sit outside, because it was just every day was booked.
Which is good. You get to see a lot, but then you don't really get to, you know, sit down and sit back and really kind of absorb it and experience where you're really at. The other problem is social media unintentionally creates a lot of pressure too. When we were first thinking about doing this, I was watching YouTube videos on all the places I wanted to go and see and everything I wanted to do, and I wanted to get all that done before it was too late, before we were too old to be able to do certain things.
At Jamie's job, he worked from home, and he did a lot of stuff on the computer, and he had 2 screens. So on one screen, he had all those bucket list places he was watching all the time, every day, and I'd come home and he'd tell me, oh, we got to go to this place, and we got to be able to go to that place, and it looked exciting. People were moving nonstop, and when we were in our early 50s, that sounded great.
Yeah. Now, back when COVID happened, that actually gave us the opportunity, because Linda got furloughed, gave us the opportunity to actually kind of dip our toe in this. And basically what we did is we kind of just took off with the RV. So we went all over Price, Utah and the Swell, and went to Moab and did a lot of stuff. None of that was basically planned. It was just kind of seat of your pants. What can we get today? And we'd venture off and see all that kind of stuff. And it really kind of exposed us to, hey, we really enjoy this.
Except that's not really doable most of the time, to
Right.
move around that carefree of a lifestyle and to not have a plan. So what seemed really easy at first has turned out not to be easy at all. And we've talked about that in other videos. And it's just not as much fun as we thought it would be in the long run. It was at first. To have a really good retirement RV life, you've got to have flexibility built into it. And that is hard to do, but that's what we're going to try to tackle going forward. Real freedom is the difference between the constant motion of getting to the next stop and the actual joy that you're going to experience once you get there.
And I think a lot of people initially confuse movement with freedom. The idea becomes, I can go anywhere at any time, and that must be freedom, that I can just get up and go whenever I feel like it.
It kind of is, but eventually we started to realize that that constant motion and having fun
Right.
weren't necessarily the same thing. The faster that we were moving, the less settled that we felt, and the more that we kept feeling like we're missing something.
And I think the other thing is the drama of getting to the next destination starts to outweigh the wonder of experiencing everything. And you start to really appreciate, hey, let's slow down and let's take time to actually sit down and enjoy this place.
Yeah, being calm and having slower experiences, longer stays. So that's our goal now. That's what we're sharing with you, is that planning that quieter time to go to a place, or picking quieter places to go, like we have done more recently very successfully. We wanted places where we could actually feel real, not so touristy. The touristy things are kind of fun, but we've never really been real touristy people, I don't think. Like, going to Disneyland once every 5 to 10 years is enough for me, and not at all for you.
Yeah, I have no interest in going to Disneyland whatsoever. To me, Disneyland is like sardines walking down. It's just not an enjoyable experience for me at all.
And it's hard to relive how wonderful it was in the past. So, but we really want to have more travel where we can temporarily feel like we've actually lived there a little bit, where we've actually really been somewhere, instead of just feeling like we're consuming it as fast as we can.
One of our favorite experiences was at a 2.5-month trip that we did, where we went to Colorado, eastern Wyoming, the Nebraska Panhandle, and also South Dakota's Black Hills. Now, if anybody's ever been to the Black Hills or South Dakota, you know there's a kind of a small time frame where you can actually go up there where there's actually nice weather. Unfortunately for us, that fell during Sturgis. And initially I thought, what's the big deal? Sturgis, that's not a big deal. I'm going to get to see some really cool motorcycles and all that kind of stuff. Once the first day was over with, I'm tired of the motorcycles. I'm sick of the exhaust. I'm sick of listening to their radio. I just want to see this beautiful place. We went on this one hike. I think it's called is it the Pinnacles hike or something like that?
I don't remember.
But there's a hairpin turn that you got to cross the road to get to the hike.
Well, you park in the middle of this hairpin turn.
You park in the middle of the hairpin turn.
And the hike's on the other side of the street.
And the hairpin turn is, blocking where the trailhead starts. And we're sitting there, and the motorcycles just kept going and going and going and going and going and going, and they would not stop. We're standing there with our dog and all
like
this
10
stuff.
other people.
They would not stop. They just did not care that we were there. And finally, one lady just got fed up, and she backed her car out. And she said, "You're not going to let me out. I'm just going to pull out, and if I hit one of you, I don't really care." So she did that. We managed to get across. And as we started our hike, I turned and looked at Linda. I'm like, I hope there's somebody else that'll do that, because we're never going to get back to our car. So that was one of the things that was kind of...
But what we were able to do, because our trip was so flexible, and we only had, out of that huge long trip, we only had a couple of dates that were pre-reserved.
Right.
One was an event with FMCA, FRV.
Well, it was FMCA at the time, so let's leave it at that, because we know how to say that.
So one was that event, and then there was another event which was going to the Broncos game on my birthday in Colorado. So other than that, we were pretty flexible in everything else that we could do. And because we do mostly stay at public campgrounds, they are a little more flexible in allowing us to move as long as they're not too crowded. Then you can find another date, and you're not going to pay a big penalty for that. Because we were able to slow down, allowed us to absolutely experience Custer State Park in two different, entirely different experiences, right?
Oh, it's totally different. I mean, when we were doing when the motorcycle thing was going on there, it was just kind of, you know, Linda was trying to film out of our moonroof, and she said, I'm getting nauseous. And I'm like, okay, so you can either film or you can breathe. It's up to you.
Yeah, exhaust.
Because all the exhaust from the motorcycles in front of us were just, it was too much.
So that flexibility allowed us, we were not staying up at Custer, we were staying down in Hot Springs, which is at the base of the Black Hills, if you're not that familiar with it, and we were commuting each day anyway. So what we were able to do was just add more days. So that allowed us to experience some little towns around there that wouldn't have been part of our trip, and those ended up being fantastic. So we just like, Sturgis, go ahead and have your time. We're gonna go see all these other little things right now, and then as it was coming to an end, then we were able to go back up and visit Custer again, and visit also, what's the President's Place?
The President Place? It's called Mount Rushmore.
So that was slam packed with motorcyclists when we were there the first time.
Yeah.
We were able to go back when there wasn't.
Well,
the
not
huge
only
crowd.
that, when we first got there, we figured, oh, well, let's eat our lunch now because it's time. So we sat in the car, ate lunch. It started to drizzle a little bit. We said, okay, let's go up there and we'll check it out. We get up there right as we get to where you can see them, fog rolls in.
We made it to Mount Rushmore. Can you see it?
It's a great view.
It's right there.
And you can't see any of the president's heads. You can't see anything. So that was kind of a...
So that flexibility allowed us
Yeah.
to go back and see things again, and that's another thing. Most people go through, you have one day Mount Rushmore, that's it, that's your shot. If it rains, it rains. If it's fogged in, you don't get to see it. We got to go back and see it. We got to go see
Mammoth site.
the Mammoth site in Hot Springs, which is amazing. If you're ever up there to see Custer, plan time to go over there, especially take the kids. It's one of the most amazing things that we'd ever seen.
Yeah, it was really
And
cool.
we were able to experience so much more little tiny bits of Custer that we just had time. We had time to just sit and look and admire and hike, and all because we had flexibility in our schedule. What we're saying is a lot of people think that they're searching for nonstop travel. They just want to travel, travel, travel. And that was what you thought you were searching for. Jamie's childhood experiences that were his favorite experiences were just jumping in the car with his family and driving cross country without much of a plan. And then as an adult, before I met him, he was driving all over the country just to go see places. And then before he retired, he got to fulfill, as he said earlier, his dream of becoming a trucker, which didn't turn out to be the dream he thought it was. It didn't last very long at all.
The driving part was great. The other part stunk. Being a truck driver, they don't respect truck
I
drivers.
could have told him, but he
unfortunately.
wouldn't listen.
And one thing I'm still amazed about is the beauty of this country, and I do want to experience as much of it as I can. But the thing that's kind of disappointing is the logistics and crowds at some of these places that you want to go to, and that's what kind of makes, you know, venturing out and finding the not so popular places is kind of really neat and a lot of fun to do. When we were up near Zion, we went to right near St. George, Utah. There's a place called Snow Canyon, and it's incredibly beautiful. And the thing that was it drew me to it was Butch Cassidy. I'm a movie guy, so Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. A lot of that movie was filmed there. So we got to go to a lot of places where I'm like, oh yeah, this is where they fell back into the water, and that's where this was. But not only that, I mean, it's just incredibly beautiful. But it's not like Zion and Bryce and Grand Canyon. It's nothing like that.
And they might not be on everybody's bucket list, but that doesn't mean that the experience that we've had at those kind of places is any less rewarding at all. One of my favorite experiences was when we went down the South Texas coast without much of a plan, and we had a couple months to travel, and we were headed to Port Aransas because Mark Guido on Grand Adventure had shown Port Aransas, so we wanted to go there. But we discovered so much else around there in the area just because we had the time to do it, which was really cool. Some of my favorite things were like Mustang Island State Park we got to go to, and we got to see the north Padre.
North Padre
North
Island.
Padre
Yeah.
National Seashore, which was totally awesome and not planned at all. We just got to experience it like as if we were living there for a short period of time, as opposed to being really touristy.
Now, early on in our marriage, when we first started traveling and going, seeing things, Linda would try to cram in as much as possible wherever we went. So you're on the vacation, we got to go here, there, and this and that and that and this and that. And you basically, once you got back from the vacation, you had to take a vacation from your vacation because you were exhausted. One example is we were early in the 80s, we went to Zion. This is long before we started RV travel. We were up in Zion, we were doing the Emerald Pools hike, and it's 3 pools, and one's low, one's in the middle, and one's actually higher in elevation. We're at the middle pool, and there's this giant boulder, and Linda has a picture of me leaning against this boulder. And I can hear her in the background going, okay, so we got to do this and this. And I finally turned back and I looked at her and I said, wait a minute. Look at where we are and how beautiful this place is. And I'm overlooking this canyon. And I'm like, just absorb where you're at right now. Don't worry about that right now. Be where you're at right now. Just enjoy this. So that's one thing, you know, when you're, and also as you get older, you start to learn that more. You start to appreciate it a lot more.
So now, instead of how far will we go or how much can we see during that trip, I think our retirement travel plan from now on is going to be how much time can we spend there before we head to this place? How much time can we spend there? And then even so, planning days off, planning days where we can just kick back. I mean, we kind of do anyway because we have editing days, but days that are really just to sit outside, because we never do that.
No.
And just experience the place that we're at. And up until this year, I really wasn't interested in thinking that way. I still was, how much can we see? And we got to hit all those points.
Right, and I think a reason why a lot of people like work camping or seasonal work is that actually helps with that situation.
I think that's one reason that work camping, at first I didn't understand why seniors who didn't have to do it financially liked work camping so much, especially those that are just working in trade for their campground space. Why were they volunteering their time? And I really didn't get it. But we recently got to visit our friends Jim and Michelle from the YouTube channel Airstreamers. They were work camping over several months at Kartchner Caverns State Park in Arizona, and they invited us to meet up with them there since we were coming through the area. And it was amazing. They were filled with so much joy and sense of purpose. They really loved what they were doing. They were forming relationships with the other work campers and with the rangers. And they found time to get to know the surrounding area. And us being from Arizona, basically living there for 27 years, they were showing us places that we would never have known about because they really got to experience living there for a short period of time. So I think this was the second or third time that Jim and Michelle had gone back to Kartchner Caverns, and they're pretty much experts at it.
Yeah, definitely.
At the place. They've learned so much, and they share what they've learned with the people who come there.
Randy was a geologist by trade. That's what he went to school for. Then he also studied, became an astrophysicist.
I think many experienced older RVers will naturally evolve into this idea over time, especially when you're in retirement where you don't necessarily have a schedule that you're trying to fit all your travel into.
What we've kind of morphed into is we will pick a region, and it could be big or it could be small, and we'll choose a central place where we're going to camp. And then what we do is we'll do little excursions where we'll go out and see different places. It could be a few places in a day, or it could be just a half day where you do just a small excursion. And what that gives you that opportunity to actually kick back at your campground, really enjoy the place where you're camping.
And one of the things that we're going to make room for, hopefully, is returning to the places that we really loved. And I never saw us having time to do that before, which is why I was trying to fit every single thing in at every place we went, thinking this will be the one and only time that we ever go back there. You know, it was a little disappointing adjusting that thinking that we may not go see the whole country. We may select which places to go to now. I think now we're going to say, how much can we experience going to a place rather than just saying, we've been there, we've been there, we've been there. Now it's going to be more about the experience.
Right. I mean, you can say I've been to every state except for Alaska and Hawaii, Did I spend time and know the places that I've been? No, not really. Not especially when I was younger. I mean, yes, I went to places, but I didn't really experience them. So that's, that's a huge difference.
And I don't think it counts that we failed at RV life, or we failed at the plan that we had. I think it's more like we just came up with a more realistic version of what retirement RV travel should look like, for us at least, as we get older.
Right.
And I think what we've learned is actually going to sustain us to be able to do this a lot longer.
How this actually improves your quality of life, doing it this way as opposed to
traveling as fast as you can to see everything and check it off a list.
Right.
This is actually, okay, we won't be able to see everything. It's probably not going to happen. Flexibility in RV travel is the hardest when you're trying to do all the bucket list things, or you're trying to travel at the most popular times. But the real dream travel, and something you can do in retirement, is what you learned over time. And that's to decide what you value the most.
And the thing that's really cool about this lifestyle, we've experienced things we've never experienced otherwise.
Yeah, our favorite trips have all been accidents. Our favorite places were all unplanned, not the result of the tight or the rigid plans. They were things that we either found accidentally along the way, or things that we did when we had no plan at all.
Right. Yeah, prime example of that is when, I'm going to go back to when Linda had her fall, and we basically said, hey, we're going to go back up to Zion, because we had a horrible experience in October, the prior October. It was like Disneyland. It was slammed. And I'm like, okay, this is Disneyland. I never want to come back here again. We figured, well, she's healing from her fall. We're really close to Las Vegas, where she was hospitalized at. Let's go up near Zion. We can spend some time there. So we actually went to Zion. It was in February, off season. We knew that was the time when the trams weren't running, so we could actually take the car all the way back to where the Narrows were and all that. And it was a totally different experience. It was so enjoyable. We did a video about it. If you get a chance, watch that video. It was night and day. It's like when we were there in the 80s. It was so quiet. We got to go everywhere, and it was really enjoyable.
So that was an accidental travel.
Right.
That was great.
But one thing that's really kind of cool about this lifestyle, and we've had this happen numerous times.
Being flexible.
Being flexible. We were up in Wyoming, and we happened to find out that a friend of ours, Mark Guido from Grand Adventure, was just like, what was he, like 20 miles from us?
Yeah.
He was like 20 miles from us. So he reached out and said, hey, I'm just 20 miles. You want to go for a hike tomorrow and then maybe get dinner or whatever? So we did that. It was really, really great. We were in the Bighorn Mountains in Wyoming, so that worked out really cool. And then we were up in Santa Fe. Tony and Peggy from Stressless Camping reached out and said, hey, we're coming back from, I forget where they were coming back from, but they said, hey, we'll meet you where you camping at. We'll meet you. And then we spent 2 days with them, and that was really kind of cool. So that's what's really neat about doing the RV lifestyle this kind of way. Yeah. One thing we'd really like to do is hear what your thoughts are on this. Did you start to get RV travel burnout? And has your RV travel life actually changed over time?
Yeah, and what parts of RV travel have turned out different than what you expected it would be? We'd really love to hear from you guys down in the comments.
We hope you found this video helpful. If you did, we'd really appreciate it if you'd share it with your friends and family on social media. And if you're not yet a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
And ring that little bell, because that way you'll be notified every time we upload new content.
And make sure to leave a comment. That way you could be part of the conversation.
Until next time,
we'll see ya.
That's a wrap, roamers. If these adventures and tips are keeping you inspired, subscribe and watch another one. Your next RV tip or destination is just a click away.